My dear students, I hope you all have gone through the syllabus for this semester. In this course, that is discipline specific course 2, you will be studying about microbial diversity and growth. So under microbial diversity, we have 2 units where you will be seeing about the different types of fungi, algae, viruses and protozoans, the 4 major groups apart from bacteria. Bacterial diversity, bacterial structure, all that you have studied in the last semester. So in this semester, the other 4 major groups of microorganisms are covered, and the other 2 units talks about microbial growth. In unit 3, you will be mainly seeing what are the various nutrients that is necessary for the growth of microorganisms, and depending on that how these microorganisms are classified, and how these nutrients enter inside the cell, microbial cell. And along with that, you will also see when the organism grows, when the microorganism grows, what are the various factors that is going to be affecting the growth of microorganisms, both physical and chemical factors. And when it grows, there is a pattern for growth. So that growth pattern also you will be studying in detail along with growth kinetics. So this will be covered in unit 3. Whereas in unit 4, you will be seeing the cultivation of bacteria. That is what I'm going to start today. So once you know what type of nutrients the microorganism takes, how do they grow, all these basic details, the next thing you will want to do is grow these microorganisms in the laboratory so that you can do further studies about the organisms in detail. So for that, you need to know again certain basic things. So that is what you will be seeing in unit 4. So here you will see the different types of nutrients that will be used in the laboratory to grow the microorganisms. A set of nutrients will be used which is going to be called culture media. So what are the different types of culture media that we commonly use in the laboratory? In detail we are going to see. And after that we are going to see how we can get the bacterial cultures in pure form. That means each and every bacterial culture will be obtained in pure form, and that is called pure culture, isolation of pure culture. Different techniques are available, that also you are going to study. And along with that, we will also be seeing how to preserve these pure cultures in the laboratory for a longer period of time, methods of preservation of cultures, and some other details in brief. So let me start with the first topic in unit 4, that is cultivation of bacteria, and under that types of media. Now when you want to isolate and study a particular bacteria in the laboratory, the isolation may be from soil or from water or even from human beings. So when you isolate a bacteria and when you want to study about that bacteria in detail, then you must be able to grow it in the laboratory first. And this is possible only when you have a suitable culture media for its growth. Now, how can we define culture media? A culture medium is a solid or a liquid preparation which is used to grow the microorganism, transport it from one lab to another lab or from one place to another place, and also store this culture for a longer period of time. So that is the definition for culture medium. Now, does the definition end there? No. You cannot call a mixture of nutrients as a culture medium simply as such. The medium must contain all the nutrients necessary for a particular microorganism to grow. Now, what do we mean by all the nutrients? The nutrients should have sources of energy, sources of carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. All these are necessary for carrying out the metabolism, that is for carrying out both activities and also building the cells, and various other minerals, and of course majorly water, because 80% of this cell is made up of water. So water is also an important constituent that should be present in the culture medium. So only if all these nutrients are present in a proper concentration at adequate amounts, then you can call this mixture of nutrients as culture medium. And this culture medium can be either present in a solid form or in a liquid form. Let me just stress this point again. You cannot call any mixture of nutrients as culture medium. An ideal culture medium should have balanced mixture of all the required nutrients. It should be present in exact concentrations. That means it should neither be very low in concentration or it should not be very high in concentration. And the concentration that you are adding should permit very good growth or optimal growth of microorganism. And lastly, there are certain microorganisms which might need some special nutrient, like for example Mycobacterium tuberculosis. If it wants to grow, there should be some kind of a special nutrient like serum or egg should be present in the medium. So if any special nutrient is necessary to support the growth of a particular microorganism, then that must also be present in the ideal culture medium. Now once you prepare such a medium, and when you expect the microorganism to grow, sometimes it may fail to grow. What could be the reason behind it? Some environmental factor might not be suitable for its growth. Environmental factors in the sense it could be in temperature, it could be oxygen, or it could be pH. So any one of these factors, if it is not suitable for a particular organism, then that organism will not show an optimal growth in your culture media. So that must also be taken into consideration, should be kept in mind when we talk about culture media. Now there are so many different types of culture media, so many different terms that you will come across. So for our convenience, we can classify these culture media into three major groups. Depending on the physical nature of the culture media, we have three very important types. One is solid media, second one is semi-solid media, and the third is liquid media. And the second classification is based on the chemical composition. What are the nutrients, chemical nutrients that is present? So based on that, we have two important types. One is synthetic media, the other one is non-synthetic media or complex media. And the third type of classification is based on its specific function or special function. Under this, we have different types again. I have just mentioned a few here, like general purpose media, differential media, selective media, enriched media, transport media, and so many other media are present under this classification. Now we are going to see each and every type of culture media in detail. Now let us first see the classification of culture media based on chemical composition. So as I said, under that we have two important types. One is synthetic or defined medium. The other one is non-synthetic or complex medium. Let us first see what is synthetic medium, which can also be called defined medium. This is the medium in which exact chemical composition and the amount of all the components are known. That is, I have just given one example for such a synthetic medium, which is used for growing one particular bacteria, that is Escherichia coli, what we usually call E. coli. So for growing that organism, such a medium can be formulated and used in the laboratory. Now if you see the components in this media, it has glucose, disodium hydrogen phosphate, potassium dihydrogen phosphate, ammonium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, iron sulfate in a defined concentration. We also know how much we are going to add for 1 liter of water. So in 1 liter of water, we are going to add 1 gram of glucose and all the other sources. Now here, glucose is going to act as a carbon and an energy source. Disodium hydrogen phosphate is going to provide phosphorus and sodium. Here this is going to provide again phosphorus and potassium. This is going to give nitrogen, ammonium sulfate. This is going to give nitrogen and sulfur. This is going to give magnesium, calcium, iron. So all these which are necessary for the growth of E. coli are provided in pure chemical form. As chemical salt they are added. So here we know exactly what is there in the medium at exact concentration also. So such a medium where we know the exact chemical composition and also the amount of all the components is called a synthetic medium. Now we usually don't use such a medium in a normal teaching laboratory. Why? Because this is going to be very costly for us. When do they use such a medium? See, when this is usually used in research, and when do they use it is when they want to study the metabolic characteristics of an organism. That is, for example, here, if you want to study how the concentration of glucose is going to affect the growth of E. coli, at what concentration it grows best, at what concentration it stops its growth. So if you want to do such studies, then such a defined medium is going to be useful. Otherwise, as I said, we always prefer a complex or a crude medium. The next type of culture media based on chemical composition is non-synthetic or a complex media. It is defined as a media in which exact chemical composition of each of the constituents is not known. See, what is meant by that? You just see an example here. This is again a complex media for the growth of E. coli. Just compare it with the previous media that I had mentioned. Here you have water, of course, will be there in liter quantity, and then you have only three other components: peptone, beef extract, and sodium chloride. Peptone is going to act as a nitrogen and also as an energy source. Beef extract is going to act as a carbon source, and also it provides all the other nutrients necessary. For example, whatever amino acids, whatever vitamins, all that is necessary for the growth is provided by this. How, from where are they being extracted, we will see it in the next slide. And finally, sodium chloride, which is necessary for maintaining the isotonic nature of the water media, is added. Only this much, nothing else. So what is complex here is these two components, peptone and beef extract. They are not pure chemical salts. They are a mixture of so many things whose exact chemical composition we do not know. At what concentration and what are the various constituents present in it, we do not know. Some major components we know, and that is why we add it. And somehow microorganisms seem to grow very well in such media. Fine. Now that is about the definition of complex media or non-synthetic media. Now why do we use such a media? There are two main reasons. One is what happens is sometimes in a teaching laboratory like ours, we want to grow so many different organisms in a same plate, in a same culture media. For example, when we isolate microorganisms from soil or water, there will be so many different types of microorganisms. In such case, we want a media which can support the growth of all these different types of microorganisms. So in such cases, rather than the synthetic media which will support a particular type of microorganism, we prefer a complex media which can support the growth of many different microorganisms. This is one very important reason. The second important reason is many a times when we isolate a microorganism, we do not know the exact metabolic requirements or nutritional requirements of this organism. But we want to maintain it in the laboratory for quite some period of time, and slowly we will keep on doing studies and we will come to know what are the exact nutrients that it needs for its growth. Until then, when you want to maintain that particular culture, that particular organism, then we need a media which will support it without any problem. So in such case also, complex media is going to help us a lot. Now, as I said, there are some very common components that we add in a complex media or in a non-synthetic media. We should be knowing about them because this is what we will be using in our laboratory normally. So, complex media contains undefined components like peptone, beef extract, and yeast extract. What are they? First is peptone. This is a protein hydrolysate which has been prepared from meat, casein, soya meal, gelatin, or any other such rich protein sources. We partially digest these products by using proteolytic enzymes and dry it and make it as a powder and use it as peptone powder. And as I said, peptones are mainly added in the culture media as a source of carbon or an energy source or as a nitrogen source, because they are highly rich in nitrogen. We can use it as a nitrogen source mainly. The second important component is beef extract. See, this is an aqueous extract of lean beef, and beef extract contains amino acids, peptides, nucleotides, organic acids, vitamins and minerals. So beef extract is majorly going to act as a rich source of all these nutrients necessary and also as a carbon source. The third one is yeast extract. This is an aqueous extract of brewer's yeast. You will be knowing what is brewer's yeast. This is a Saccharomyces cerevisiae species which is used in the preparation of wine and beer. So from this yeast cells, yeast extract will be made, and this is an excellent source of B vitamins as well as nitrogen and carbon compounds. The next classification of culture media is based on their physical nature. Under this, as I already said, there are three types: liquid media, solid media and semi-solid media. What is a liquid medium? See, when the culture medium is in the liquid state, we can call it as liquid medium. But I have just added one more small term here without the addition of solidifying agent. What is it? We will see it in the next slide. Next slide. Don't bother now. But see, what happens is when we, usually what we do in the laboratory while preparing the culture media is we take a conical flask, we add water to that, required amount of water, and then we add the required quantity of all the salts that is present in the medium. That is, for example, the first medium what I told is containing glucose, ammonium sulfate, potassium dihydrogen phosphate. So weigh all these powders using a weighing balance and then add it in this water in the conical flask, mix it thoroughly and then sterilize it. So this is how we prepare the culture medium. So when you prepare it, it will be in the liquid state. When you use it, it is going to be in the liquid state. So such a culture medium is called a liquid medium, and there are some very common examples of such medium that we use. There is nutrient broth, glucose broth, peptone water, all this. And when we prepare liquid medium, we either prepare it in a conical flask and use it in the conical flask itself, or after preparing it in the conical flask, we will dispense it in small culture tubes, test tubes, and then we use it. So in both ways you can use liquid medium. Now, when do we opt for a liquid media? I have mentioned 4 important uses here. If you don't understand certain uses, don't bother, because as you go on studying, you will understand all these terms. First is to carry out certain biochemical tests. If you want to find out some biochemical property of a microorganism, then for certain tests we use liquid media with different compositions. Second is, suppose if you want to isolate a microorganism from blood or water, that is from a large volume of sample. If you want to isolate an organism, the first step we do is we inoculate it in a liquid medium. Once it grows in the liquid medium, then we take it and put it in the solid medium. So as an initial supporter of growth, we use liquid media. Third is, as I said, when large volumes of samples have to be tested, we go for this. And finally, when you want to grow the organism in a very high number so that we can prepare vaccines out of it, or we can get antigens out of it, in that situation also, we usually use specific liquid media. So this is about the uses. Now, we don't always use liquid media. Why? Why do we go for solid media sometimes? The main reason is it has certain limitations. What are they? First is, of course, the bacteria will grow very well in the liquid media. It will show good turbidity in the test tube or in the conical flask. But there will not be any difference in the growth between different bacteria. E. coli will be growing in the same way as Salmonella typhi. Staphylococcus will be growing in the same way as Streptococcus. So all these different types of bacteria will look the same in a liquid medium. So differentiation becomes very difficult with liquid media. So in fact, when we have a mixed population, it is totally impossible to separate these different populations from a liquid media, because as I said, they do not exhibit any specific character in liquid media, in a general purpose liquid media. So these are certain limitations. The second type of medium is solid medium. This is a culture medium which is prepared along with other constituents by adding a solidifying agent. That is, you prepare a liquid medium, add all the constituents to it, dissolve it thoroughly, and after doing that, finally add a solidifying agent to it. It could be either gelatin or agar. So what happens when you add this solidifying agent? The medium which was present as liquid will now become solid after doing certain treatments. What is the treatment we usually do? See, after preparing the liquid medium and after adding this solidifying agent, you finely heat it. When you heat it, the solidifying agent which is present in the form of a powder will completely get dissolved, and even at this time it will be present as a liquid. But when you cool it down, it will slowly become jellified and it will become like a gel, and that is when you call it as a solid medium. So a very common solidifying agent that we add is agar. Agar is a polysaccharide consisting of 3,6-anhydro-L-galactose and D-galactopyranose. And this agar is a chemical that has been extracted from red algae like Gracilaria, Gelidium, Gigartina. There are many other red algae from which you can extract agar. They all grow in a marine environment, and this occupation has been seen in coastal areas. And the special property of this agar is it liquefies on heating to 96 degrees Celsius and hardens into a jelly on cooling it to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. What is meant by this? Simply speaking, as I said, you add agar into water, that is in the liquid medium, and then you heat it fully to 100 degrees Celsius. So as it is shown here, when the temperature crosses 96 degrees Celsius, the agar will totally melt in the liquid. You cannot differentiate agar from water. It will completely get melted. It gets liquefied, and then you just leave the medium as such in a normal room temperature. Slowly the temperature will keep on coming down, and when the temperature goes below 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, at that time it will start becoming into a jelly. So you all would have had jelly as a dessert, right? So you would have observed it is neither too hard nor too soft. It will be somewhere in between. So this is how it will become. It will harden into a jelly on cooling to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. So this property of agar is being exploited in preparing the solid media in microbiology laboratories. And what more, this agar has another advantage, that is, when you add this agar in the liquid medium, it is not at all going to affect the growth of microorganism in any way. What do I mean by this? It will neither support the growth of the microorganism nor will inhibit the growth. It is totally inert as far as the growth of microorganism is concerned. And not only that, most of the microorganisms that we commonly grow in the laboratory cannot attack this agar, because once if the agar is attacked, once if the agar is degraded by the microorganism, it will lose its jellifying character. So that never happens. Even today we use it, that never happens. Very few microorganisms can degrade the agar, but as such, most of the microorganisms cannot degrade it. So because of all these advantages, we still use agar as a solidifying agent in the preparation of solid media. And the usual percentage of agar that is used is 1.5%. What is meant by this? If you are preparing 100 ml of culture media, that is, if you are going to add 100 ml of water, and to this 100 ml of water, you will have to add 1.5 grams of agar, minimum 1.5 grams of agar. Or if you are preparing 1 liter of culture media, that is, if you take 1000 ml of water, you will have to add 15 grams of agar to the media so that it can get into a solid state. Now, this is the very common complex media that we use in the laboratory, teaching laboratory, that is nutrient agar media. You can see the composition here, and remember this composition until you finish your microbiology studies. Peptone is there, beef extract is there, sodium chloride is there, and what do they supply has been mentioned here. Amino acids, peptides are supplied by peptone, vitamins, minerals, other nutrients are supplied by beef extract, and sodium and chloride ions necessary for maintaining the isotonic nature of the water is provided by sodium chloride. And agar is the only component that is added extra here. When you compare the composition of nutrient broth and nutrient agar, this is the only difference you will find. There, all these are there without agar, whereas here we have added agar, as I said, in 1.5% concentration. And when you prepare a solid medium, you will either dispense it in test tubes like this, preparing slants. You will do all this in the laboratory, so don't worry if you don't understand. So you will either dispense it in test tubes and prepare slants like this, or you will dispense it in petri plates and prepare agar plates like this. So in both the ways, solid media are being used. What are the uses of solid medium? The most important uses, solid media is used in the isolation of pure culture. But before that, just go through all these points. First is, when bacteria grows on the solid media, for example, you can see the bacterial growth in this agar plate. When the bacteria grows in the solid medium, after proper dilution, they form discrete visible growth. You can see the growth of the bacteria, which is visible to you, and you also see discrete growth here and there. You see growth, not throughout the plate. So such a discrete visible growth on the solid media uh, is called a colony. Now what is a colony? You can see many colonies here. Now, what is a colony? Colony is a clone of cells originating from a single bacterial cell. That means if one single bacterial cell falls here, you cannot see it in the beginning. But after it grows and it multiplies, from one single cell, there will be millions of cells coming. So they will all be present in the form of a small group, and those groups are, so you are seeing here. So each and every one of this group is called a colony. And in this plate itself, you can see that two different types of colonies observed. One is which is semi-white in color, uh, and the other one is yellow in color. Do you see such different growths of colonies here? Yes. So when the bacteria grows on the agar plate, one thing is they form uh, discrete colonies. Second is the colonies can be identified, differentiated based on the bacterial species. So different bacterial species will give rise to different types of colonies. From that you can make identification easily. And each and every colony can be called a pure culture. Why? Because they arise from a single cell. The cells present in this colony will be similar in nature, right from its morphology to its metabolism. All the activities will be same in this particular colony, and that is when we call that colony as a pure culture. So solid medium is going to help us a lot in isolating pure cultures by forming discrete colonies. And the third type of culture media based on its physical nature is semi-solid media. So here again, we will prepare a liquid medium and we will add agar to it. But the only difference is we will add agar in a very low concentration, that is just 0.5% will be added instead of 1.5%, which we use in solid medium. So just 0.5 grams will be added in 100 ml of liquid media, and then same procedures will be carried out so that you get a media which will have a custard like consistency. That means those who have prepared custard at home, you will be knowing fruit salad ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ custard ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, so it will neither be too liquidy or it will not be like a jelly. It will be somewhere in between. So in fact melted ice cream can also be taken as an example, a slightly melted ice cream. So such a custard like consistency will be there with semi solid media. A common semi solid media is trypticase agar medium. And when do we use this? We use it very rarely in very rare situations, like when you want to test the motility of a microorganism. Motility in the sense, if you want to study whether a microbial culture has the capacity to move, using its flagella, then you can use semi-solid media here with some specific composition. And also in agar overlay method. What is this? Let us not talk about it because it will be too much for you to understand. So in further classes, you will understand what is this. So in agar overlay technique, where we want to study the fight between two microorganisms, uh, at that time also we can use a semi-solid media. So in my next class, I will be talking about the next classification of culture media based on its special functions. So until then, go through all these types of media and learn it properly. Okay. Thank you.